Hey everyone, this is Brian Funk. I want to tell you about my new Ableton Live pack called 4-Track. 4-Track has 44 Ableton Live instrument rack presets, and they're all made from analog synths that I've recorded to my 4-track cassette recorder. That gives each one of the sounds of the analog synths a little extra tape character, some saturation, a little bit of tape hiss, and it brings them to life in a special kind of way, and you're hearing some of those sounds right now. Each of the presets has 17 different macro controls with audio effects to help make your sound fit exactly how you need it to in your next production. You can get this pack at my store at brianfunk.com/store, or you can get it by joining my Music Production Club. It's the current download right now during the month of October 2021. And the Music Production Club gets you access to all kinds of great stuff that I've created over the years, including some Ableton Live material, samples, educational material, our online community, and of course, our current download, which is 4-Track. You can join the club for free for your first month. The Music Production Club is a great way to keep yourself inspired and with new stuff to make music all the time. You can join the Music Production Club at brianfunk.com/MPC. And just another word before we start. Our guest today, Adam McHeffey, is the marketing director for Artiphon. And Artiphon is offering 10% off of any products from their site if you use the code MUSICPRODUCTION. No space, just Music Production. So be sure to head to artiphon.com to check out all the cool stuff that they have on offer. How's it going, everybody? And welcome to the Music Production Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Funk. And on today's show, I have Adam McHeffey from Artiphon. And Adam is going to talk to us about some of the new stuff going on with Artiphon. And we'll learn about the Orba and some of the other devices they have, and an exciting new one coming out very shortly. So, Adam, I'm very excited to talk to you. It's really cool to see you guys pushing the boundaries of music technology.
Well, thank you, Brian. It's great to be here on the show. And yeah, it's really exciting times here at Artiphon.
So I've just got my hands on the Orba here. I'm going to hold that up if anyone's watching, which is a pretty awesome and unusual device. The first time I saw it, I guess in the wild, sort of, if you can count over Zoom being in the wild, was Jordan Rudess had one when I interviewed him on the podcast. And he was really psyched about it, and he's playing around with it. And since then, I've seen it pop up like social media stuff, and it was fun to get my hands on it and just see what it can do. And I was pretty surprised at how powerful it actually is. It's deceptive. You know, it kind of looks just like, I literally have a Bluetooth speaker that looks almost exactly like this that goes in the shower. And that is not a very complicated device. This, though, has so much expression and really easy to use once you understand what you're doing. Really fun. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Well, you're hitting on something that was pretty intentional for us. At Artiphon, we try and design instruments that appear very friendly, very accessible, the kind of thing that anybody could walk up to and say, that looks neat, I want to play it. So we were very much inspired by how ubiquitous Bluetooth speakers have gotten. We really wanted Orba to just look like something that you would have in your home, a beautiful object that you'd put on the coffee table, not that different than a teacup or a piece of fruit. And so we're very inspired by just everyday household objects, and we wanted to take these objects that feel so good to hold in your hands and bring some of that into the actual industrial design of the product. Now, the other side of that is that we're all extreme music nerds and we love to push the boundaries. And so it's packed with, a very impressive list of features, and it can do an awful lot. So we always, with everything that we do, try and do both. Make it really easy and accessible at first, but so that it can grow with you and scale with you depending on how complicated you want to get. How much fun do you want to have over the course of a day?
I can see how this would be something you could probably give to a person that really doesn't have much music experience. and they can be off making some beats and some small little ideas. But then, of course, we've got the integration with the MIDI and even MPE MIDI that allows for, this is such an exciting, time for how we're able to interact with our software using MPE. So that this is included. It's like a surprising thing to discover that it goes that deep. And yet, because with complexity comes, or with depth comes complexity. So sometimes like you kind of lose accessibility when you want to go deep, but I think you guys have done a nice job in just keeping it immediately accessible. But then, hey, if you want to take it a step further, here's another layer you can explore.
When we first started designing products, and I have Instrument One here, which for those of you who are watching and not just listening, we'll see. Everyone else will have to do a quick Google search. This was everybody just got GarageBand on their iPhones for the first time, and we realized pretty quickly, okay, that fight is basically over. We now have every sound in the world at our fingertips at a moment's notice, and of course, sounds continue to get better. There's more and more libraries, so all these VSTs are becoming so unbelievably realistic and advanced, and so we said, we need to think about the way people are going to play these sounds. It's not just enough to touch your iPhone screen. We need to think beyond that. Music is too important, right? Just to play a few notes on the GarageBand keyboard. And so we started designing controllers that would allow you to get the most out of those sounds so that you could strum, so that you could slide and do all of these different gestures that people have been doing for hundreds of years. We wanted to, really salute that tradition in music, and so the MIDI implementation in our products has always been really important. We want people to be able to access all of their favorite sounds effortlessly and in the most fun way, most intuitive way possible. So yeah, although everything I'm saying, it sounds complex coming out of my mouth, it's actually just designed to make things more natural, more human.
A good example of that on the Orba is the clap. When you're doing drums, you can just kind of clap it in your hands and it makes a clap sound. Like that's...
We call it bump.
Bump.
But it usually gives you a clap sound. Some of them are there's a cowbell on one of them.
Oh, yeah. But it makes so much sense, and you can actually perform that just as you're playing the notes on the little pie-shaped pads that are on there. I first remember when Instrument One came out, it caught my eye because it looked a lot like a guitar to me. I'm a guitar player, and I guess you are too. I see a few guitars behind you.
There's not all mine, but yes.
Yeah. Are you a lefty? It looks like you got a lefty.
I'm lefty. The right-handed ones are my partners, and the left-handed ones are mine, which... For anybody thinking about getting Artiphon products, I'm like kind of the left-handed QA person, right? I don't let we don't let anything go out that's that hasn't been vetted by a true southpaw guitarist.
Right.
So,
okay.
So
that's
everything
cool.
works both ways.
Yeah. Nice. So it seems like some of those gestures, like these are just like things you don't get. Even on piano, really, like a bending of a string, the sliding into the notes. That seemed like the Instrument One was trying to address some of those like shortcomings, I guess you would say, based on like MIDI keyboard inputs.
Yeah, you're nailing it. So it could be why do keyboardists have all the fun, right? With everything we were just talking about, everybody's got these unbelievable sound libraries, and we just play them with these 88 key, usually less, little controllers, and so we really didn't think that was good enough. Of course, we added the capability of using the guitar fretboard, but we took that one step further. So instead of just strumming your E major chord, we made it so that you could tap just with one hand. And that adds a whole new layer of accessibility. So guitarists who maybe have a hand injury or something like that, they're finding new ways to be able to get back to playing guitar. So it goes even one step further than just let guitarists play MIDI. We're talking about providing people with a tool set so that they can really customize an instrument to play any way that they want. So that if they want to play with just one hand, or maybe they don't have any knowledge of the fretboard at all, but they still want to strum, we've created modes for that as well. So Instrument One is really interesting because it really is a Lego set. It's a tool that can be customized and played in 100 different ways.
I'm guessing that works both right-handed and left-handed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure it is. Actually, Instrument One will automatically detect which way you're holding it, and we'll do all of that.
Oh, really?
Smart stuff for you.
So it'll flip the notes around, basically? Like, what would take hours on your guitar to change the strings around?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we'll have to get you an Instrument One at some point as well, Brian, because I think you'd get a kick out of it, I'm sure.
Well, I've seen a lot of people do, mostly on Instagram. It seems like Instagram is like, it's a great spot for watching people do like short little jams on things. And I see Instrument One come up quite a lot. Like it's just a quick thing they do. And they hold it in a lot of different ways. Some people hold it like a guitar. Other people I've seen play it almost like a piano, where it's in front of them instead of against their body. And it seems that it's got some things to it. I'm not exactly sure how, but like some of those gestures you were mentioning, like, you can see them doing things like, oh, I can't do that if I just slide my finger across the keyboard.
Somebody who does like going in and tweaking will really love the Instrument One editor, which allows you to pick between fretted versus fretless. It allows you to pick between tap or slide. And so it's basically this matrix of options to create your own instrument. And there probably are hundreds of permutations and different ways to play. But yes, just simply holding the instrument in different ways was a pretty new concept at the time. And now, like you said, we see people doing it on Instagram. So it took a little while, but we're absolutely there now. People really are playing these things and loving them.
I think it's interesting that you guys, and just the possibilities of this, that traditional instruments like a guitar is set up a certain way, right? It doesn't understand if I flip it over that it needs to go to left-handed string orientation. And now, though, we have so much possibility in just how our instruments are laid out in front of us. And I guess I'm just pretty excited to see like where this is going to lead, because there's a lot, and up until like relatively recently, I think, maybe I'm not sure how old Instrument One is exactly, but 5-10 years in the last...
we launched in 2016, so...
Yeah, so like in the last decade, maybe, we're just starting to see like new things that aren't just kind of digital versions of instruments we already have. Like there have been some MIDI guitars, there've obviously keyboards, but now we're starting to see like the pad-based instruments more and more, and we're just getting these new ideas. I'm excited to see like where this goes and how you guys see that as a possibility.
Well, and so listeners will have to, again, either do a little Googling or just imagine. But Instrument One, like you said, Brian, looked a lot like a guitar.
It looks like a guitar
was intentional.
neck, basically.
Looks like a guitar neck, right? And it can be played a variety of different ways. But most people see it and they say guitar. And that was intentional. We wanted to provide a bridge for people. Instrument One was the bridge from traditional ways of playing into new digital ways of playing. In some ways, we created it thinking that all of these country guitarists that I'm surrounded by in Nashville are trying to get into digital production, beginning to produce for themselves, and they need a tool that they can understand better than a keyboard. That's where that came from. And then a few years go by, and the landscape shifted again. And Orba, like I described before, which looks like a grapefruit cut in half with eight wedges on top that you play. This is an entirely new way of playing. This is saying, yet again, the landscape has changed, and we think that we can actually come up with some pretty clever ways of playing. Now that the technology is there, we can take all of this goodness and make it musical. And so that's been really fun. But Instrument One was a bridge, and Orba is an entirely new way of playing. And to be honest, there's something easier about that to understand. To piggyback on 100 years of guitar playing, and let alone the luthiers out there. Instrument one was pretty polarizing in the guitarist community. Orba's not. There are some people who don't like anything new, but most people see Orba and say, that's so cute, I want one. So in some ways it was easier to start from scratch, completely blank canvas with none of the same biases that everybody had when it came to guitar. People are very passionate and very nostalgic about their guitars. And so that was a tough battle, and it's been a lot more fun actually just to start with Orba completely fresh.
I have some of those feelings about guitars myself, just the heritage of it in a way, like I've got into playing Telecasters recently. I never really played Telecasters before. And there was something about it that as soon as I started playing it, I immediately understood the history of the electric guitar in a different way, as it being one of the first, solid body electric guitars. So I really appreciated that design has just lasted and holds up. Now, I think it's kind of funny and interesting to hear that you got a little blowback, you said, from Instrument One. Is it? I have to imagine it's people expecting it to be a guitar, and just it's. I don't think that's what it's meant to be. It has design aspects from the guitar, but that might be some kind of misunderstanding of what its intended purpose is.
It was one of these things that no matter how we positioned it, no matter how much time we spent on the email copy, people were always going to pick it up, and if it didn't play like their 1965 Yamaha acoustic, they were gonna have something to say about it. And yeah, like you said, that was never the intention. We wanted to provide options for people. We wanted to give people a new way of just approaching their sounds. We wanted to bring music to people who otherwise weren't playing it. And that's been the ethos of the company since day one. So never a single day in Artiphon history have we tried to create a better electric guitar. And every member of the company would agree. As you can see behind me, I've got some traditional guitars. Our CEO and founder, Mike Butero, is a classically trained violinist. So it's funny how much shade we get thrown at us, considering the fact that we are all traditionalists ourselves. We have one foot in the past and one foot in the future, but you can't design an 8-wedge new instrument without understanding music theory and the full course of MIDI implementation. And so there's a great deal of our upbringings and our own musical training that went into all of this. And whenever we would sit down with people and just explain that, the entire mood of the conversation would shift. That's one of the reasons I have these guitars in back of me. So when I hop on a call with somebody, they don't think I'm the devil selling snake oil or something like that. So that's been a challenge for sure. People kind of see what they want to see there, but we always just wanted to we push the boundaries and provide new ways of playing.
I've had that as a guitar player. I think there's at least a little part of you maybe that and it's the part of you that spent all those hours practicing and your fingertips hurting and bleeding, where it's almost this rite of passage, so when something comes out that kind of can skip that part of it a little bit, there's that defensive element, because music is so accessible. Like you said, everyone's got GarageBand on their phone now, which is more powerful than what they had at Abbey Road Studios when the Beatles were there. And
right,
there's that part of, I guess, it took me a long time before anything I made resembled music on a guitar. And now you can show up in day one, a lot of times, have something.
And we're very careful about using that word, easy. So I don't know if we mentioned it, but I'm the director of marketing at Artiphon. So I have to think about this stuff a lot. And there are just certain words that when you use, they They shift the conversation. And when we say the word easy, we get that pushback. Oh, well, I put in my 10,000 hours. Why should it be easy for anyone? And if you read our Facebook comments, you'll see it there too. People will say, trash, learn a real instrument. And I've worked here long enough that I don't get offended by that anymore. And I know where they're coming from because just like you said, they got their calluses the old-fashioned way. And I don't want to deny people of that experience. But music is a birthright. And music has been around far longer than this idea that you need to learn violin in a classroom or that you need to learn how to read sheet music. And I think that it's a relatively recent invention that we've locked it away behind a classroom, behind private lessons. And then you have your mom who loves to sing but doesn't think she's any good. Or the kid that wants to sing in chorus but is nervous that they're not a real musician. Or the kid who makes a song on their parents' iPad but then deletes it because that's not how music gets made. And that's no good. We've got to turn that around because music is something that everybody should feel free to hop into. So instead of easy, could we maybe make it simple, accessible? What about intuitive? There's a good word for it. Could we lower the point of entry so that more people can just have a delightful experience as kids in high school or even younger? Let's make it so that more people fall in love with music the way that you and I have been lucky enough to. I'm sure 90% of your listeners are, players or producers, but, I'm sure that they have people in their lives that aren't and wish that they were. 80% of Americans wish that they could play a musical instrument. Only 8% do. So there's a huge divide there, and we absolutely are trying to rise to that occasion. So if you have an issue with that, then we can begin the debate. But it's never been about old instruments or new instruments. It's about trying to get more people to make music throughout the day, casually, just so that they can enjoy it the way that we have as well.
Yeah, I've probably had those thoughts in my life in the past, but I really do enjoy that things are accessible to others. And even in teaching people guitar, showing them a few chords, I've said to them, it's pretty simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
The concept is simple, but it's not easy. It's going to take time. And I think that's very true about a lot of the types of ways we can make music these days. There's things, and I think this is the Orba is a great example. There's a lot of accessible and simple ideas to it and how to do it, but it, having some understanding of music is definitely going to help you get further along.
Sure,
but it's nice that it's this open door because I'd never heard that statistic about 8% of people play instruments and 80% wish. I mean. And there are so many people, and I think the only reason I'm not one of these is because I was just kind of too dumb to realize it at the time. But there's so many people that just think I'm not musical. I can't do that. That's not for me. And it's for so many things in life. So many, especially creative things. I can't draw. I can't paint. I thought when I was younger that you had to sort of be struck by a lightning bolt to become a rock star. You went up to a mountain somewhere and traded your soul with the devil. It's nice to have things that you can show people pretty quickly. Look, you could do this. This is something that you could do if you choose to pursue it.
And that was the design challenge, is can you make something that somebody can come up to and simply play a few notes and it'll sound musical. It'll be in tune. No wrong notes. And at the same time, somebody who wants to take it further can, and they can create an entire loop on this thing. That's going to take a lot more rhythm. It's going to take some practice. And we call that scalable complexity. The idea that this product can grow with you and can get as complicated as you want to. So I can play, Lean on Me with just a handful of notes. I could teach anybody how to do that within a few moments, and now your YouTube video is going to get taken down. Or I can download a utility for a Max for Live instrument and use this to control my light show if I want to. So that's the real design challenge here, is because despite everything that I just said, we're also not designing for beginners. We try and design and be somewhat blind towards skill level here, and maybe that's impossible, but that's what we set out to do. And with Orba, so far it's working out pretty well.
And that's where I start getting excited about this. It's a lot of fun. You have it in your hand, you can play, you can make loops and little tracks, and I'm sure they'd be great song starters. And I had a lot of fun loading it with Ableton Live, and you guys have a nice template where your instruments are already loaded, and so then you don't have to just be stuck with any sound that is on the Orba or through the app. You now have your whole palette there, and that's cool too. But the idea of so much of the expression is available in some of that Max for Live stuff. Like you said, you really could probably control a light show or really whatever you can think of. Have you guys found people any surprising uses of this? Anything come to mind that where you're kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, there's a if you're an Ableton user, maybe you know the name Laura Scude. Is that familiar artist? She was one of the first ones to take this first spin, and she used it to control a whole generative 3D projection mapping, and she used Ableton to put all that together. I believe she's a certified Ableton instructor, and that was right when we had launched the product, and she took that pretty far. And that was pretty neat. So that would be a more advanced but certainly awesome use case for sure.
Yeah, Laura, I think, was one of the first trainers for Ableton, and she's been on the podcast a couple times, and is responsible for the live shows of people like Kanye West, The Weeknd, Logic. So yeah, she's definitely knows her stuff, and I could see that being a pretty exciting pair of hands to see this working with.
But the interesting thing is giving it to somebody who is really advanced and knowledgeable with this stuff, and then just seeing them use it as a standalone synthesizer, just taking it out of their bag when they're hanging out by a pool or something like that. I think that's kind of where we have a one-up on other instruments. The fact that you don't have to connect it, and it has a speaker in it. And it's just so easy and compact that it's kind of like the load-off instrument, for the professional musician. It's like the weekend instrument, and that's really exciting. The idea that somebody who makes their money touring and has to lug around a B3 organ or something like that gets to just have fun and not think about it too much with this. Sometimes
I do feel overwhelmed at just the gear, setting things up. And if I'm maybe not completely motivated to go make music, sometimes that's enough to just make me say, I'll let the Netflix just play the next episode for me and go on. And sometimes I'm amazed at even the acoustic guitar sometimes just blows my mind, because I didn't have to do anything. I just started playing it. There's no battery,
right.
There's no electric cord or USB Wi-Fi, nothing I have to do. And I think it's nice that that's part of this design. It's got to be tricky though too. Those are a lot of bases to cover that are on pretty opposite ends of the musical field. How much time does it take? How did this start as a concept? What is the overall picture, the lifespan of this product design look like? How long ago was conceived?
Orba, it's a great question. It all started with Instrument 1, and we called Instrument 1 the multi-instrument. Meet the multi-instrument, Instrument 1. And the idea was, as we discussed, that there shouldn't just be one way to play this instrument. You should be able to approach it a number of ways. And Orba is just the second version of that. Let's revisit this idea. Let's take everything we've learned about the multi-instrument and let's put that in a smaller package. And it was about 2 years of research and development. We tried several different form factors, things that were a little bit more abstract, things that looked a bit like Orba, hemispherical, but much, much bigger, kind of like a big cow pie. And in the Artiphon headquarters, there's a dozen of these different shapes all laid out, and you can see all the different things that we wanted to do. But we very much wanted something that was just going to fit comfortably in your hand. I think that we're really just getting started. Although Orba's been out and been selling for about a year now, I don't think most people know about it, and it really does have a wide base of people that can find themselves in it. So I think we're just getting started with spreading the word about Orba. The interesting next thing will be the software that we designed for it and really bringing it to life with software. And that, of course, gets us into this really special announcement, which is by the time the show airs, we will have released Orbicam, which is a new iOS companion app for Orba that allows you to film yourself making movies, making little videos with Orba. Orbicam will take care of all of the audio routing for you. It will add VFX that you control by playing Orba. And what we were trying to do here is all of these people playing Orba, they're already sharing to Instagram. They're already making videos. And it's been so fantastic to see that we wanted to continue to encourage that. And so we've actually built this app, Orbicam, specifically for that. So this is, in a way, just a pretty serious product upgrade for us. And that's how I think we continue to get the word out about Orba. And I think it's got a very long life ahead of it. We're just getting started with some of these new, pretty different ideas.
It's nice as a user, to get this sort of update that suddenly expands the device into a whole other realm of expression, into video. We've got a new area. And that's nice too, as far as it goes. A lot of musicians are very focused on music, and then the video is also becomes a part of things, but it's a whole new territory, really. It's a whole new skill to learn. So to see it bridged over that sounds exciting. And you're controlling the video effects straight with the Orba. So is that happening in concert with the music as well? There must be some interaction.
So let's see if we can do just a very fast demo here. And of course, this is only going to make sense if you're watching. If you're watching the YouTube video, but just to give you a really, really fast demonstration here, if I play Orba, I'm actually, as I move my finger in and out of Orba, I'm actually changing the color of the sky above the bridge here.
Mm-hmm. Then you're sliding your finger across one of those grapefruit slices up and down,
right?
Which affects the filter I noticed on some of the synth sounds.
Yeah, this is what we call the gestures of Orba, and Orba has a half dozen different gestures. We mentioned a few. You can bump it, and it gets a clap. It gives you a clap sound. You can shake it, and it sounds like a shaker. And what I was just showing is called radiate. And those listening, close your eyes. Not if you're driving, and imagine moving your finger in and out from the center of your half grapefruit. And that actually controls different envelopes in the synth as well as volume, and we call that radiate. So you radiate in and out of a pad to control sound, and with Orbicam, that controls the VFX. There are several other gestures as well, like tilt, which usually adds vibrato or something similar like that. And that's how we were able to get away with an 8-pad device, right? First thing people said is, what am I going to do with 8 notes? How am I supposed to play any song with only 8 notes? And it was by adding these different gestures that we really made this thing far more expansive. The ability to change notes to change your sound just by moving this thing through air in a really intuitive way.
Yeah, it's fun, and I'm excited to see how this works. Now, you guys have something else that might be related. It's ScanBand, or is it called ScanBand, right?
ScanBand. I'm glad you brought that up.
So I might need you to explain this a little to me. I'm not on Snapchat at the moment, at the time of this recording.
Sure.
But I understand that there are, there's the filters and everything that work into Snapchat. That's why we can look like we're like puppy dogs. And
yeah, you got it.
So, but this is something, I'm trying to remember where I saw this, because I don't think it was on a music-related website.
Yeah, Artiphon R&D has some pretty long tendrils, and we do have some pretty exciting side projects. Snapchat, some people usually know it as, like you said, you turn into a puppy dog. But what some people don't realize is that Snapchat is absolutely leading the charge when it comes to augmented reality and machine learning. So the technology that turns you into a puppy dog is state of the art, and there's just so much power there. In addition, Lens Studio, which is the software that lets people build this stuff, you can do a lot of great stuff in there. Snapchat was experimenting with a handful of new features. One of them was this scanning technology, the ability to point your phone around the room and have it recognize objects. So you point your phone at a tomato and it knows tomato. The other new technology was its audio machine learning, which for a musical instrument, music tech company is a gold mine. And I won't go into the details of how that one works, but partnering directly with Snap for the release of these two new features, we came up with this idea called ScanBand. ScanBand allows you to scan the objects all around you and turn them into a musical instrument. So if I scan my dog, I'll get a sticker that looks like a dog. And that sticker will be placed in augmented reality. And then I can play that either by tapping on my phone or literally by waving my hand or in the air or kicking the icon, the sticker, as it floats there in space. I imagine that it's pretty difficult for your listeners to imagine what I'm saying right now, so I strongly recommend just visiting artiphon.com, and there's some great videos on ScanBand as well as Orbicam and all of this. But just like I was saying before, the idea is, can we bring music to more people? And not everybody's going to buy an Orba or an Instrument One. But most people that we communicate with do have a smartphone. And so if we can make smaller experiences with something like ScanBand and make those free and easily accessible for people, and they might start making music and they might not even realize it. And that's a really exciting concept for us, to make musical creativity just as easy, just as natural as turning yourself into a puppy dog. Why do those two things why can't it be as easy as the puppy dog face filter? Why can't we have both? So that's ScanBand, and that was a really exciting moment for the company. Yeah, it's just to kind of flesh it out for anyone listening, what it looks like to me, and maybe I'm a good person to explain since I don't know a lot about this stuff, but you have your phone and you're looking at yourself through your camera, and in your world are all these objects in the artificial reality that aren't obviously in your real world. But the people are moving their hands across these objects through that they see in their phone, and it creates different musical elements to their music or to their videos so that they can actually play kind of like with the air. And it's just kind of exciting to me because of what you said, that this is kind of sneaking people in the door of like musical creativity without knowing they're doing it. And sometimes it's the knowing you're doing it that makes the thing scary. I think when I first started playing guitar, I didn't really know I was playing guitar. I was just like, oh, if I want to play Enter Sandman, these are where my fingers go. And then I wanted to learn where do my fingers go for another song. And then soon enough, you're playing the guitar. But before that, I would have said, I can't play a musical instrument. That's not what I do. I didn't know anyone that did it and wasn't around it. So
this could be a lot of fun, and especially for young people because they're on these like something like Snapchat, most of the day. So it's nice. It's nice that there's something there that can kind of like rope them into being a creator and not just a consumer all the time.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that social media definitely gets a bad rap. And I think oftentimes it's deserved. But what a powerful tool set to be using here. And Artiphon, I think, is now thinking strategically about how to take those tools, like the new tools that Snap is providing, and turn them into something more creative. People have there's no shortage of creativity out there. And I think that most people want their social media experience to be a bit more interactive. I mean, case in point is TikTok. We've made this massive generation of people that are truly becoming creators in their own unique way. So people have it in them. They just need the right tools and the right permission to do it. And so we're trying to be a part of that and use all of these tools that people already have, their smartphones, Snapchat, whatever else it is, in order to, like you said, low key get them to start playing music. So Snapchat was an experimentation. How easy can we make music? And if you look at some of the videos people have done, I mean, there are babies who are playing Scanban without even realizing it. And there are people who have done more complex things, like setting up a whole scene and running through it to the beat. So and everything in between. So again, there's that idea of it's as hard as you want it to be, and we're just providing a tool set for people.
That's fun to hear that people are really taking it to new levels and making it art, really. And
yeah,
that's fun. So do you have any thoughts about where this goes? What are there any like missions or visions for the future that you, I guess of course you were able to share, but overall, like, do you see like the landscape of like the musician changing dramatically through the future through some of the stuff?
I think depending on your time window, it already has. I was one of these, Garage Band for the computer came out sometime around when I went to college, and so I saw how powerful that was. How lucky was I, right, to have Garage Band at 20 years old and to be able to make my first record all by myself. That was years ago now, and people certainly had a lot to say about that when it came out, right? But I think most people saw that as a boon to creativity and changing the musical landscape. So that's always been my starting point with all of this music tech. So like, will the landscape change dramatically? I think it's changing faster than we realize already. And like case in point is GarageBand on a laptop or something similar, right? Somebody pirating Audacity and putting it on their parents' computer, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be GarageBand, but I think that this has already been happening for a couple decades now, and music has continually become more and more accessible, more and more democratized. The playing field continues to level every year that goes by. I think we're just trying to do that at a even faster pace. So, I do think that we're innovating. I think Artiphon is poised to make some pretty bold maneuvers here in this space. But I'm just piggybacking on that feeling that I had that said I can now put together a whole record myself. And if I can give more people that feeling of power and creativity, then that's a job well done. So with Orba specifically, what I hope people do is I hope people buy it and open it up, and I hope that they make a little song. And I hope that, their little 8-bar loop becomes enough that they feel good about the music that they made. I think that music can move out of this realm of being the super important, highly produced thing, and it could move back into the realm of just something that you do in between Zoom meetings or during Zoom meetings if you get bored. And that's enough. It's enough to make a 3-minute song and then move on with your day, and you don't have to publish it. It's the act of doing something, of being physical with your fingers, and making something that just delights you. So I'd like to see more of that. I'd like music to be less serious. I'd like more people to feel like they can do it, and I'd like a simple 8-bar loop to be enough, because for me it is.
Yeah, I like that you bring that point up. Everything has to be so serious and such a big deal. And maybe with the fact that, I remember when GarageBand came out and one of my friends had it, I couldn't believe it, that it came with his computer, and I came from 4-track cassette recording days where, you dreamed of having that kind of power. But it can, everything we do now is recorded, so it's always documented. And if people are maybe not, I don't know if this is true, but maybe like the actual playing of an instrument is less so a thing, and it's more doing it to produce a song, to finish something. And once you get into production, like that's what becomes important, I guess. But the act of just doing, right? Just being in the moment, enjoying it for what it is, and not always having to make something a big deal. And for instance, I'm recording a record with friends of mine, and we just want to record a record. We're not gonna, that's it, the end. And so many people are like, well, what are you going to do for publicity and for like? I'm
yeah,
like,
you're gonna do a Kickstarter campaign.
No,
or
like,
you're gonna press it to vinyl. Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah, we might make a few copies so we could have it. Mostly, so far the only ones that want it anyway. So it's nice though. Like without any of that, sometimes it's just nice to enjoy it for what it is and not have to always think beyond the thing itself and just be in the moment. Like you said, like that was good enough for me, that I enjoyed myself while I did that and feel a little productive and accomplished, fine. But not everything has to become this big thing. And
I've done it both ways. I've been in a band where we had to make the record and it had to be perfect, and oh my gosh, the stress that causes.
Right.
If you want to cripple somebody of their creativity, there's no better way to do it than put them in a touring band and force them to write a record every year. And I've done it the other way too. Like I come from a weirdo family where we still like played guitar and sang together, and nobody tried to capture that. Nobody tried to commodify that in any way. We just went on with our lives after that. And I think that there's room for that. I think people are hungry for that. And so I think we can design musical instruments and app experiences that get people out of that headspace, and they just get people creating without even thinking about it.
Yeah, because I do think it's a thing that's kind of permeated us as people. Like we got to capture everything. We got to get a picture of it. I had this kind of funny moment last weekend. I was at like a farm stand on Long Island here, getting pumpkins and things like that. And they had giraffes there, which didn't know there were giraffes on Long Island, but they had a couple giraffes there that you could go and wait online and take a picture with the giraffe. And I was just sitting on the side with my wife. We were looking at the giraffes, and all these people were going up to the giraffes, right next to the giraffe, and just taking a selfie and leaving. And they didn't even look at the giraffe. They just paid attention to getting the picture, just capturing the moment that they weren't even really experiencing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that can be sometimes how music gets made too, when we're so caught up in just like getting the thing that we lose it. We lose the emotion of it and the feeling of it, and the actual experience is gone. So I think it's a cool thing that you guys are doing that, and that's part of the vision and the thought process behind it.
Absolutely.
So this is really fun. having a great time playing around with Orba, and I'm excited to see what this app looks like with the videos. For me, for all the work I do, the video work is my least favorite. It's like the job part, I just have to make the video, I have to edit it. So it would be great if it was just a little more fun if I was playing it. So I don't know, maybe I can find a way to make that work into my own productions.
Yeah, it's in the early days here, but yeah, it's so funny. When studios get built these days, they're like, all right, well, what are we going to do for cameras? What are we going to do for lighting? Because there is no listening without some video component these days. Mm-hmm. And there's really no, of course there's apps for video editing, but I haven't seen anybody do it effortlessly yet. Orbicam is only for Orba, so we had it's a pretty refined set of features, but what it does very well, which is your Orba songs will sound great and they're going to look really fun, trippy, and convenient.
Those are a cool combination of words right there. So we'd like to send you to artiphon.com. That's artiphon.com, where you can check out all this stuff. Orba's there, Instrument One. You can see the scan band, and also I'm sure that you'll have the new app Orbicam going too. A lot of cool stuff, and even just I recommend going to like the YouTube and even searching on Instagram just to see what people are doing with it, because it is fun to see like new stuff happening. And this is what's going to make our future in music making, just what people start doing with the new stuff that comes out. And this Orba right here is pretty exciting in how deceptively expressive it can be. So, and that's something I'm really interested in just these days, the expressivity, it's like as a guitar player, of all the subtleties you can do on a guitar. And it's nice to see this starting to come to life in more like electronic digital realms. So I thank you for taking the time, Adam, and also for all the work with the company to keep us musicians entertained and inspired and having a good time.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, Brian, and thanks everybody listening at home.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Music Production Podcast. If you've liked what you've heard, I'd love it if you could leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks very much.